Thank you.
Thank you very much. How nice it is when people help. It's not always true, but helping others is so ingrained in our behavior, within the family, between friends, even among strangers, that one can easily forget how far from obvious it is. Have you ever considered why we help others? Why shouldn't we help? Because it is easiest to stand aside and let others make the effort. But why should we help? That's a question that has been debated for decades. And the answer has come from an unexpected place. From here, the Shazaf Reserve in the Arava Valley in Israel, and more specifically, from these lovely birds, the babblers. I have a present for them. A beetle larva, which is a babbler delicacy. I'm going to drop this grub among them. Let's see what happens. Oh, the one who caught the grub is Gutstuck, a young male. I recognize him by the rings on his legs. Multicolored, yellow, aluminum, orange. Wait, just a moment. Gutstuck is not eating the grub. Instead, he takes it and flies away. Let's see where. He's taking the grub to the nest. He's giving it to his young siblings. This is amazing. First he struggled to get the grub, and then he gave this delicacy to his young siblings in the nest. In order to understand why young Gutstuck sometimes volunteers to help, we need to get to know his family, the babblers. First light at the Shazaf Reserve in the Arava Valley. Gutstuck's group members are stretching their wings and opening their eyes to a new morning. The babblers spent the night huddled together and will continue to be in physical contact and close proximity throughout the day. Searching for food, playing, and allopreening. This is a normal day for the babblers, the only group living bird in Israel. The Shazaf Reserve is in an arid desert, in the middle of the Arava Valley with its wide open, dry spaces. Contrary to its desolate look, the reserve is home to many animals that share the desert with the babblers. For over 40 years, Amotz and Avishag Zahavi and their companions have been studying the babblers. What causes their fascination with these small birds?
First, it's lovely to be among birds that you know individually. They live in a cooperative group, unlike any other bird in Israel. Gossip collecting is fun, and we are collecting gossip about what is happening among the babblers.
The fascination with the babblers attracts other researchers from around the country and the world, in addition to the thousands who have been visiting the reserve for decades to observe the babblers. Occasionally, at first light before sunrise, the babblers crowd together in an open area in their territory and dance. In a dance, each babbler preens itself. They press against each other and try to squeeze in between two standing close together. But for most of the day, the babblers forage for food, which is scarce in the desert. Their most common food is insects and small invertebrates that they find on the ground or by digging in it. The acacia trees also provide varied food, if one knows how to find it. Finding a grub under the bark of an acacia isn't simple, but pulling it out from within the branch is even more complicated, requiring skill, experience, and considerable effort. Most of the time, each babbler eats the food it finds. But larger food items, like small reptiles, sometimes attract other hungry individuals who try unceremoniously to pick remains. Here, young Gutstuck is attracted to the juicy lizard that an older babbler has found. The older male gives up its bounty to Gutstuck, who managed to snatch the lizard away from him. The nectar of the mistletoe Loranthus acacia and the fruit of Lycium add sweetness to the diet. When babblers aren't hungry, they engage in social activities. Adults prefer allopreening, that is, clumping and preening one another. The youngsters prefer playing, their favorite games being mock fights and chases. Some 20 groups of babblers are being studied at the Shizaf Reserve. The babblers are tame, allowing the researchers to walk among them, watch even their minor interactions at close quarters, and hear the soft vocalizations exchanged between them.
"47.
All the babblers in the research area are ringed as nestlings. The order of the rings makes up the name of each babbler, comprised of the Hebrew initials of the color of the ring, so that at any given moment, the researchers can identify which individual they are watching. The males and the females look very similar, but can be told apart by the color of their irises. The male has a light-colored eye, the female a very dark one. A babbler group can be just a male and a female, but typically there would be between 3 and 8 adult babblers, males and females, plus yearlings, juveniles, and fledglings that the group has managed to raise. In a good year, a group with a fertile territory can breed successfully 3 and even 4 times and end the summer with some 20 individuals. There is a clear age and sex-dependent hierarchy in each group. Males are higher than females, except for their own mothers. Females have their own hierarchy. The hierarchy among members of the same brood is decided by aggressive fighting in the first weeks after they leave the nest. The hierarchy established at that time usually remains as long as the siblings live together. Once the hierarchy is established, physical aggression is greatly reduced. Overt aggression between adults is rare and occurs only in special cases when an individual tries to change its place in the hierarchy. The only way to change the hierarchy is by revolt, but revolts have far-reaching consequences. A revolt involves fierce, no-holds-barred fighting, a life and death matter. If the loser isn't killed, it flees and becomes a refugee. It can't return to the group, and the winner loses an adult helper for the defense of the territory. Since the cost of revolt is so heavy, babblers typically prefer non-violent methods in order to confirm their position in the social hierarchy. As babblers mature, any violence between them decreases and altruistic activities increase. Volunteering to guard is the most common altruistic activity. When a babbler group is occupied with routine activity like searching for food, often one of them guards from the top of a tree canopy or a high, bare branch, ready to sound the alarm when predators approach. The babblers are safe within the thickets, being well adapted to a thicket of trees and shrubs, but a predator that surprises them in the open can catch them easily. A guard that can sound the alarm in time is therefore very important. The role of the guard isn't easy, but it seems that babblers often volunteer to guard even when they are still hungry. It is very easy to check whether a guard is hungry. We just offer it a grub and see whether it comes. Apparently, it's hungry. One of the tasks of a guard is to watch for foreign babblers, individuals, or groups intruding into the territory. When a guard notices an intrusion, it raises the alarm and the group gathers to meet the intruders. Sometimes threat calls are sufficient, but if the intruders do not withdraw, the group charges at them and a fight breaks out. A fight between groups is far more dangerous than a fight between individuals, since an individual can find itself attacked by several adversaries, a situation that's difficult to get out of unless help comes from its own group members. But sometimes that help comes too late. This alpha male had his leg injured in a fight with a neighboring group. Like in fights against rival groups, babblers also take risks when encountering predators. When they locate a predator, a snake for example, they approach and mob it, making loud sounds and raising their wings. This may continue even when it withdraws into a thicket to get away from the mob around it. Both taking part in a fight against a rival group and mobbing a predator are demanding altruistic acts. After all, a babbler may hang back and not risk injury or death. But the greatest altruistic investment is during breeding. Babblers that do not reproduce help raise nestlings that are not their own. The nesting season comes right at the end of winter. Winter changes the desert. There isn't much rain, but occasional heavy rains wet the dry ground and quickly form flash floods. Desert plants adapted to arid conditions rush to exploit the few rains, and sprouting starts right at the end of the flooding. At the end of the short winter season, the desert wakes in a multitude of colors. The Shizaf Reserve gets carpeted with annuals and with dazzling blooms. In this spring abundance, the babblers engage in procreation. A babbler group builds a single nest at a time, and typically only one female breeds in each group. The alpha male and infrequently other males copulate with her, provided they are not her offspring. After 2 weeks of incubation, there is movement in the nest. After about 2 weeks in the nest and some persuasion by the adults, the nestlings leave the nest. During the nesting period, all group members work very hard to take care of the new generation, even if they are not their own offspring. Why jump first into a fight? Why guard rather than eat? Why feed others with the grub you have worked so hard to find? Concurrently with the start of the Babbler project, Amotz Zahavi developed the handicap principle about reliability in biological communications.
Today, it is so clear to us that any signal, in whatever mode and whatever method, must be reliable, and that in order to be reliable, it has to undergo testing.
According to the handicap principle, anybody who wishes to advertise a quality has to do something that someone of a lower quality can't do equally well. A peacock courting a peahen spreads out a long, heavy tail, which proves that it has managed to avoid predators and fight off rivals in spite of the handicap of its tail. A lower quality male would have to make do with a smaller tail or not survive if its tail is too heavy for it to carry. For the peacock, the tail is a handicap that tests its quality. The physical handicap entailed in the peacock's tail is quite obvious. However, the fact that babblers compete to perform altruistic acts convinced Amotz that these acts could also be explained as handicaps testing the qualities of their performers.
These competitions convinced us that a babbler which contributes to its group must benefit directly from performing these deeds itself. Otherwise, why would it care if another feeds the nestlings, or guards, or fights? We realize that rather than by aggression, babblers show off by doing more things that benefit their group than other babblers do.
When researchers examine the altruistic activities among babblers, they realize that they are not reciprocal. For example, a babbler can feed another babbler lower than itself in the hierarchy, but one who is lower in the hierarchy would not dare feed one higher in the hierarchy. That could even be taken as a rebellion. If we assumed that the more senior babblers in the hierarchy would feed mostly the ones at the bottom of the hierarchy who are most in need, we would be wrong. Each babbler mainly feeds the babbler that's right below itself in the hierarchy. Interestingly, the babbler being fed is not always eager to receive the food, and sometimes it refuses the food and moves away. With guarding too, one finds surprises. Typically, one individual guards while its group mates search for food. But apparently, not all group members are happy with the fact that a certain individual is the sentinel, even though its watching is clearly very beneficial for the group.
About a third of the guarding replacements happened within a minute after the guard had gone up. Often the one who replaced it left the guard spot very shortly afterwards. It seems that its only purpose was to replace the guard. The alpha male replaces mainly the beta male, not the young, inexperienced ones.
But why do babblers compete by altruism? In most social structures, such as those of ibex, the alpha male establishes its dominance through threats, and when necessary, by fighting. Why then does the alpha babbler establish its control by good deeds rather than threats?
Threats are dangerous. Babblers don't fight twice within the group. Once there's fighting, the collaboration is over. So, it makes sense not to take risks as long as there is another way to show your control. Feeding may be less clear and obvious than threatening. But if one can use it instead of threats, the inherent risk of escalating into a fight is much lower.
The idea then is simple. To give up food you labored to find and give it to another babbler, or to nestlings that are not yours, or to spend time guarding instead of feeding are handicaps that not all babblers can take equally. Hence, this strategy demonstrates differences between individual babblers.
The one who invests in the group is showing off and gains prestige. High prestige provides the individual with a greater share in the group's resources. Prestige functions like an invisible peacock's tail. It attracts collaborators and deters rivals.
Most of the interactions among babblers happen early in the morning. The fine details of the interactions show their relationship that day. A babbler is guarding at the treetop. This is the beta male. Let's see what happens. I see another one going up near it. This is male number 4. It stations itself under the beta male and starts preening itself, indicating that it is interested in taking over the guard position. If the beta male does not go down, male number 4 will have to give up. For now, both are preening themselves. Apparently, both wish to guard. The beta male decides to give up and leaves its guard position. Male number 4 is finally up and guarding. But just a moment, something else is happening. Another individual flies towards the tree. This is male number 3 in the hierarchy. Now it is going straight to male number 4 with food in its beak. Male number 4 started guarding just a minute ago. Male number 4 opens its beak to receive the food. This confirms its subservience in the hierarchy to male number 3. Male number 4 starts preening itself. This indicates that it prefers not to leave the guard position, but male number 3 insists on staying next to it. Here, male number 4 gives up and comes down from the guard position. Here's a good example of a conversation between 3 males and the complex relationships between babblers, which always combine collaboration and competition, the need to appease a collaborator and the need to keep one's prestige. It has been 1.5 years since we first met Gottstock and his group. Not all the babblers survived. Some groups broke apart and others formed. But to our delight, Gottstock is still here. Today, he is the beta male in his group. The activities he performs to benefit his group have increased substantially, and he has been observed copulating with the females several times. Apparently, he is the father of some of the younger generation. Giving is certainly rewarding.